Hey, nice to see you here. I've actually been meaning to tell you. So this morning I got up at 5:55 like I normally do. I decided I really wanted to get my day started. So I really got up, I got in my car, I went to the gym. I spent like an hour there. Good, I came back. It was raining a little bit, which is lovely. I love when it rains in LA. So I got back and I knew that I was gonna have a protein shake, but I didn't know when I was gonna have my actual breakfast. And I didn't know about the balance of that. So I'm starting the pants video. I haven't had breakfast. So at some point I will take you along with me to get breakfast, but let's get started on the pants video because that's why you're here. In order to get started, you will need a quilter's ruler, a mechanical pencil, or a regular pencil if you're poor, some paper scissors, because if you use your fabric scissors, they will dull. Or, if you really just want to be wrong, you don't need any of this, and you can do it however you want to. But then why did you click on this video? You'll start by aligning your ruler with the edge of your paper to be able to get a straight line. Good job. And on that line, you want to mark where a quarter length of your waist is. We haven't measured ourselves yet, so go over to your trusty tailor's bag and look all throughout it to find yourself a measuring tape. Wow, you did it! Now, with your measuring tape in hand, you'll want to measure around your waist. If you're wearing pants with a thicker waistband like I am, you'll want to shimmy them down. Naughty, naughty, only a little bit, to where you aren't taking the thickness of your waistband into consideration in your measurement. You'll also want to measure your pants where you'll want to wear them. I know it's enticing to measure them up here or down here for your waist, but that's just not where your waist is. You'll want to make sure there's no fingers in the way when you're measuring, and you will see that mine is about 33 1/4. Now, whatever your pant size is at the store, don't think that's the actual measurement of your waist, because I can guarantee you, it's not. Now, you will also want to measure at the widest part of your hip, which for me is 37 1/2, because I have a dump truck. And you will also measure at the very tip top of your thigh. Again, you don't want to have as baggy of pants as I do. I'm a professional, you're not. Well, I don't know who's watching this. For me, 20 1/2 at my thigh. Now we've only got 2 more measurements. I need you to stick with me. Right at the top, where you want it to be, all the way down to the floor. For me, that was 39 1/2. Now, you'll take wherever you want the inside of your pant leg to be and measure that to the floor. 32. And now you've done it. Whoa! All of the measurements we just took, written down on the pattern paper that we're using to pattern the pants. Now, we're going to make a divided by 4 column and a divided by 2 column. The divided by 4 column is for your waist and your hip. Your divided by 2 column is for your thigh. The reason for this being, you have 1 hip, you have 2 legs. You need all of the pattern pieces to match up for your hip, but you only need 2 of the pattern pieces to match up for your legs. And there you go. The measurements. I did them all in my head without a calculator. You can't prove anything. Things to know about pants before you start patterning. All pants have a waistband. Most of the time, if you are doing a fitted pair of pants that doesn't have an elastic waistband, the back of the pant will be higher than the front of the pant will. That's because you move. The shape of the pant will almost always be like this, because you will have 4 pattern pieces, the front 2 pieces, and the back 2 pieces. You will fold them in half to be able to see the about layout of each of the pattern pieces. Here you can see that the seam is able to be shown when I'm holding it from the front here, which means the length of your girth on the front will be less than the length of your girth on the back. Girth. Disclaimer, I'm doing it this way because I know what I'm doing and this is the way that I want to do it. If you want to do it the actual real way of patterning it, where you're grading and you're starting at the base pattern and then you're going off of that and then you're fixing it, you can do that. Go to someone else's video. I'm showing you the way I do it. You're coming with me to make a pattern. I'm not going with you to learn how to make a pattern. You're about to see me pattern at a very normal, very calm, very slow pace. So what you're seeing here is a sped up version of me actually making the pattern. Hey, I'm doing a voiceover right now as this video is going on. You're welcome. So this is me just going through. You'll see that there's different points where I'm erasing, where I'm grading. I'm adding the pleats at the top. I'm going all the way down, making sure that the hems are even, matching up the sides. It's all good.
Oh my God!
We did it. That wore me out. I think it's breakfast time. Come with me to make breakfast. What you will need is bread, aluminum foil, peanut butter, apple, honey, knife. So how are y'all doing today? Yeah? Really? Oh my gosh, Samantha said that? Why would she say that? About you? She's one to talk. Those of you that don't know, putting bread in an air fryer to toast it on tinfoil so it doesn't get burnt on the bottom where the airflow is. Elite. Those of you who did know that, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Some life updates are, still single, still out there. If anyone sees this, is in the LA area, you're a hardworking, driven man who's making income that is good for you to live on. I'm making income that's good for me to live on. We can both make income that's good for us to live on together. And then we can save money together. And then we could have a wonderful life together, and we can respect each other, and we can have really amazing times throughout the year. We wouldn't have any kids. Kids suck. If you're a kid out there watching this, I don't respect you, unfortunately. Respect is earned, and unfortunately, you haven't earned it yet. While that's cooking, we're going to slice up the apple. Again, don't judge me for how I slice this apple. It's my home. If you were here, then you could judge me. Also, y'all better be really happy about this pants video, because this is going to take a lot of work. And I need all of you, if you're watching at this point of the video, you're going to like, you're going to comment, you're going to subscribe, you're going to tell other people to like, comment, and subscribe at this point, because y'all asked it. Y'all asked for this. I asked if y'all wanted to tie or if you wanted pants, and y'all chose pants, knowing how hard that would be on me. So really, at the end of the day, it is your fault. Did I offer it? Yes. Yes, I did. Did I think y'all would choose it? I honestly didn't think so. But I just, I'm a human. At the end of the day, I may be an amazing person. I may be sort of the best at what I do ever in life, and really anything that I ever try to do. But I'm not trying to do this. I'm just sort of doing it, Also, we're going to have a chat on confidence. A lot of y'all bitches out there need to have more confidence, and it shows, because it is crazy. The people I'm seeing out there trying to make a life for themselves but not really caring if they do or not, crazy. Just really have confidence in yourself. It's really easy to do. Just instead of being like, oh, I'm so ugly, I'm such a loser, I don't do anything right, you can be like, wow, I'm so pretty, I am such a winner, I do everything right. And at the end of the day, if you start saying it enough, it'll come true. And just like that, we're done. Also, comment down below, right now, if you aren't doing what you want to be doing, what's keeping you there? Like, truly. What's the thing that you're like, wow, I'm not going to take this risk. Wow, my life, the one life that I live, what I'm doing right now, isn't what I want it to be, but, I'll just stick with it, because whatever commitment I have here, whatever thing I have there, and I want you to type it out, and I want you to read it a couple of times. You don't have to post it, but just type it out, because even just seeing it can really put things into perspective. So once you've peanut buttered the toast, you're going to add on your apple slices. They don't have to be pretty. Just add them on. Now, honey, and we have made breakfast. Now, it's time to cut these out on the lines. I have marked the seam allowances around, so I will add the seam allowances once I actually lay this on the fashion fabric. But here, I want to be able to change the seam allowance whenever I want to. Two things I did off camera, where I added the pocket pattern, because I'm not wearing a pair of pants without pockets, no thank you. And then zipper flap pattern, that would go right here, fold it back, and it's where the zipper will end up being. I don't think I'm going to have a zipper closure on my pants. I think I'm going to have a snap closure. We'll see. Amazing job, y'all. Next step is going to be getting the actual fabric, starting to pin this on, trace it out, and then recutting everything out. Also, I just looked at that footage. How dare none of y'all tell me that my necklace was messed up? Instead of saying ugly, it was just like, ugh. Oh. Now, when going through this fabric, you gotta pay attention to grain here. That's what I was marking with the vertical lines, because I want my pants to be vertical stripes. I think horizontal stripes look really weird, especially in pants. So we're just figuring out how much fabric we need from there. Good thing about this fabric is that you can tear it instead of cutting it all the way across. For those of you who like the sound. Speaking of which, that ASMR video I posted did better than I thought it would. Like, I had a bunch of people reach out to me individually being like, oh my gosh, please make more of that content. And as a person who doesn't like ASMR and did it because I knew other people liked it to an extent, but I just didn't have any type of idea how much people liked that. But I'm not sure that that's something I want to like make a niche, especially if I don't like it, because I'm like fine making the content, whatever. It's kind of easy. But I don't know. Leave your thoughts below on if you like the ASMR content or whatever. Also, the video of me don't make a tie with me is the entire reason that I'm making this video, because everyone was like, well, I wanted to make it with you, or like, fine. And I was like, okay, whatever. I guess you can make it with me next time. Geesh. Next two things you're gonna need: pins, seam gauge. And also, if you're poor, you can just use whatever writing utensil you use the first time. If you're really, really rich and successful and hot and sexy like me, chalk pen. Now, you're gonna actually be pinning the paper to the fabric, making sure it goes through the paper and the fabric. You aren't needing to do this every inch or anything like that. You're just getting it secure enough to where you can move everything and you can ensure that when you're tracing it, when you trace the other side of it, everything will be able to match up. Now, if you're really fancy, you'll have a pinning table, or you'll be in a studio where you have more table space than a rounded coffee table. I do not have such luxury, so we're working with what we can. But all the stuff that I do for client work and everything like that, all the social media posts, everything that you see that I've done while being in LA, unless I do it on set, I do it here. So you're really getting the full experience here. Obviously, you're purposefully bending the paper in order to get the pins through, so it's going to create a little bit of bubbling, but that's perfectly fine because you push it down whenever you are actually tracing it, and then that flattens it back out. It's perfectly fine that these two aren't matching up on the paper because all that matters is they're vertical. If it was horizontal or if it was a repeating pattern, then I would be way more specific about how I'm pinning. Right now, the only thing that I'm actually lining up is the side edges, because those are the only spots that I can actually have a point of reference on both of these that I know will match up. And the rest of that will just have to come through me being very precise with my sewing and with my seam allowance to be able to line up the vertical lines on the seams. When pinning, you'll also notice this gap in the middle. That's because, remember, I did not include seam allowance in this actual base pattern. I add that once it's pinned to the fabric, and we're about to be to that step. So you'll see why there's space everywhere. Also, everyone just raise your hand if you have any questions right now, and I can walk around the class in just a moment to be able to answer them, okay? Hey. I'm so sorry I just kicked you. Everyone, I don't have insurance for that, so please just say you're fine. Bow. Now we can start. This seam gauge, can you see it? Guys who aren't saying anything, can you see it? Little slidey blue guy right here. That's what you line up with the actual measurement, and then it lines itself up there. So you're able to just mark right here, whatever marking device you have. Again, mine is the little chalk pen. And that's how you get consistency all the way around. But you don't need to see all of this. One thing I didn't mention in my regular talking video is that I use the seam gauge specifically for the spots that have a lot of turns, because it's easier to get in there with a seam gauge that has only a 1-inch area where you can mark, rather than a quilter's ruler which has a 24-inch area you can mark. So I use the quilter's ruler on the longer bits of straight section, But on the shorter bits where it isn't as straight, I use the seam gauge. Bada bing, bada boom. Also, you will notice my transition from my orange scissors to my yellow ones because these are my fabric scissors because I'm cutting the fabric. I'm not even touching the paper with these scissors because I have the seam allowance. We have our front panels, back panels, pockets, zipper flaps, and waistbands. This next step I'm going to be doing is called serging. I have a serger. You probably don't have a serger. If you don't have a serger, in replacement of doing this, you can either 1, double fold down your edges, or 2, use the zigzag stitch on your sewing machine over the edges. Both work. One of them looks a bit better, which is the double fold. The zigzag kind of looks a bit silly, but you work with what you got. Another thing I didn't mention in the regular part of the video is that I serge each piece individually before I sew them together. That way, once you get to the inside, you'll be able to fold them out and press open the seams. It just makes for a much better finish, as well as if you have to go in and adjust anything at any time, it is so much easier on you to be able to adjust the seams if they aren't serged together. Phew! That was a hard one, but we did it. The next step is actually ironing. For those of you who thought it was sewing, you're wrong. But I'm not going to show you that because my ironing board does not look fun and I don't want to show that on camera. So we're actually just going to skip to the sewing. And if you have a problem with that, take it up with the manager. If you've made it this far, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm trying to get these numbers up, people. Let's get going. Now, I'll show you all how I thread this sewing machine, but I'm not going to do a step-by-step because it literally has the steps written out for you. And that's how you thread a sewing machine. Now you just put it through the needle, and I'll show you that. Now that I've got it threaded through the actual needle, I've got it below the presser foot. You'll wind it once. There you've seen that the bobbin thread moves. Grab something small, normally your snips, and pull out the bottom thread. So now both of your threads are through the machine. You go over, you cut them off, they're the same size, ready to sew. So this next step, I'm going to start with the side seams. I've got them pinned to where the lines will line up on the side seam. And also right here is where I'm going to install the pocket. So I'm going to leave that unsewn, but everything else will get sewn on this outside seam of both of the sides. You'll always want to start a bit away from your starting point and do a couple of stitches and then back stitch to where you want it to be. Also, for me, I don't have a line that I'm going to be following all the way down because I'm following my grid on my machine. And as long as you keep it consistent on there, it really doesn't even matter what the number is. I am using an actual number, but for you, it doesn't really matter. So again, you never want to sew over a pin. So before you get to a pin, you always want to take it out. That way you don't risk breaking your needle. Here I'm skipping over this section and I'm gonna restart. It'll pass where my needle is and then on we go. When sewing, you don't want to look here, you don't want to look over here. You want to look exactly where it's actually hitting your fabric because that's the actual stitch line. At the end of the day, none of this will matter when you're wearing the garment. The only thing that will matter is the actual stitch line. And here you'll see I have a lot of seam allowance left at the bottom. That is purposeful because I'm trying to do a double fold hem. And when doing a double fold hem, again, I didn't serge this because it'll be hidden. Everything that I serged is only the things that are going to be shown. Look at that seam. For attaching the pockets, what you're going to want to do is you're going to take this seam and you're going to take only half of the seam allowance that you're going to be sewing with. There will be nothing under it. It will just be this seam allowance. And you will take your pre-folded pocket fabric and you are going to line up the edges fashion facing fashion. And then from there, you'll just sew it completely on. Once you're done, it should look something like this. What you'll do next is add a stitch at the bottom, and then your stitch at the top should be attaching it to the seam allowance of your front panel. Because if you attach it to the seam allowance of your front panel, your pocket will always be forward exactly where it is when you put your hand in your pocket. Because if you put your pocket on the back, then it just creates a logistical nightmare for sitting and everything like that. So if you pre-attach it before you even sew on your waistband, then you don't have to worry about it. Now, that is the side seam with a fully installed pocket. Goes, you make your pockets as deep as you want them to be in your pants because they're your pants and not anyone else's. Who wears the pants? You do. I know that's right. Now just repeat everything I just showed you on the other side of the pants. The things that I'm going to do off camera are finish the other leg and sew the other side of the leg down. It's the exact same process as this side, just flipped. And again, while you're sewing, just make sure it's fashion to fashion. And I'll see you guys back for the crotch. The legs, the legs have individually been sewn together, and now it's on to the crotch. I have it already pinned and everything, so I've got both of the pant legs inside of each other. Ayo. And I've got the fashion sides facing the fashion sides, and everything pinned up to here on this side, because this is where our zipper flaps are going to be installed. But I'm going to go ahead and attach these legs first, and then we'll get to this afterwards. It's just going to be a straight stitch here. No need to show you that on camera. Now that we have it all the way sewn up, again, you'll never believe what's going to happen next. Fashion to fashion, right there. You're going to sew it, same seam allowance and everything, both sides, and then by the time we're able to open them up, one of them will be on this side, the other will be on this side. They'll line up like that. It just gives structural support for normally a zipper there, but since I'm doing snaps, I made mine a bit wider than it would normally be for a zipper. And just like that, we've got this one stitched on the top side of the seam allowance, and then we've got this one tucked into the seam allowance right here. This obviously will go over the other, and we'll attach the snaps right there. But right now, we'll move on to the waistband. I've already got both sides of the waistband pre-ironed in. All I got to do right now is sew this, tuck it in, and then we'll be connecting both of these at their seam allowance in the center back. And then, since it's already folded up, we just insert the pants into the already folded up here. That's why it wasn't serged at the top. And then stitch it down. So I'm going to do that off camera because I'm watching Love Island. So if you wanted to see that, I'm so sorry. You can blame Love Island for being every day. So yeah, thanks. Okay, well, waistband. Now the last thing I have to do is double fold up this hem and add the closures right over there at the front of it. And then these pants are done. I'm not adding belt loops because I like the sleek line of, that's why I made the waistband vertical instead of horizontal. And yeah, once I add all the snaps there, do this, we'll be all done. I just want to thank you all for coming on this journey with me. Now, please enjoy the final pants.